Welcome back. So, let's speak about selection sort in this video. Selection sort is one of the sorting mechanisms. It is not the best sorting algorithms, but still, in few of the interviews, you will be asked to write a selection sort algorithm. So, let's see how this works. Selection sort is like very simple. So, we start with the first element, say 21, and we compare it with all the elements that is next to it until the end of this array, like until 3. So we'll have a variable called maximum index. So whenever maximum index or minimum index, so if we have to sort it in ascending order, we have minimum index. So I'll have a variable called minimum index, and I'll compare this value with each of these values. I'll compare 21 with 13, and I'll say minimum index, if this is lesser than this, then minimum index will point to this. Then I'll compare this and this with minimum index, and every time we find a lesser value than the previous value which is stored in the minimum index, we save it in the minimum index. At the end of the loop, we swap that value in the minimum index with the value of this. So we'll have two for loops. The inner for loop is to iterate through every element inside the array, and the outer for loop is to do this iteration for every element. So the one outer iteration will make sure that the smallest value has taken its position. During the second iteration of the outer value, the next smallest element would have taken its second value. So that is how a selection sort works. With the implementation, I'll assign this to an array, and I'll start with my function. I'll name it selection sort, and I'll take in the parameter of type array of type int, and I'll return back an array of type int. What I'll do is I'll take this array as an in-out parameter so that I can make changes in the same array. And as all okay, in out, okay, this should work, I guess. So as already told, my function will have two for loops. So my first for loop is I index starting from 0 until the last element, leaving the last element, because so I'll start from 0 and I'll check for all the elements. So in the next iteration, I'll go to this and check all the compare it with all the elements next to it, and finally I'll come to this element and compare it with the next element. I need not go for this iteration because there is no element, and that is why it is not till the last but before that. So my inner loop will be value that is next to the I value, so it will be I plus 1. So in the first iteration, if I take this, so my next inner loop will start from this element, which is I plus 1. In the next iteration, I take 13, and then a loop will start from this, so and go. So and this should go until the last element, so it will be array.count. So there is one condition that I need to check. I'll have a variable called min index, which will initially point to I. So I'll have to check if array at any point of time, array of j, if any element that I'm comparing is less than array of min index, then I'll reassign my min index to all the index value of that element. So it shall be j. So I'll do this again and again. At the end of my iteration, min index will hold the index of the minimum element. So if we take the first iteration, min index will hold the index of this position. So what I'll do is, after my for loop is completed, inner for loop is completed, I'll swap the values that is in the first position with the value that is holding the minimum. So what happens is, in the first iteration, the first minimum value will occupy the first position. So I'm just going to swap I value, the one which I started comparing with, with the value that is there in minimum index. So, and eventually I'll have to return the sorted array, so I'll return my array, and that's it. This will do all the job. Now for the second iteration, we start from this because this is already sorted, so I will become 1 and we'll start from this, and we'll compare all the values and we'll check whatever is minimum. So the next minimum element would be this, and so this will get swapped with this 13, and so this will occupy the place, and then this, and going forward. So let's see how this works. I'll call this function selection sort, passing the array that I've declared at the top, and for understanding I'll print the array after every swap so that we can see what's happening exactly. So here we see after the first iteration what has happened is 21 is swapped with 2. So this was our initial array. You can see everything else is same, only the least element in the array is got swapped with the first. So in the next iteration the next least element is getting swapped with this position, and so on. So for each of the next iteration, after every iteration one value gets a hold of its actual position. So finally we get a sorted array like this. So this is all about selection sort. It is the most simplest thing, and this is the code that we need to follow to get the thing sorted properly. And do not forget to subscribe the video. It will really encourage me in putting down a lot of more new videos. And also like the video if you did like it, and yeah, do comment if you have any queries. Thank you.